My name is Kim Bates, and I am the host of Take Care Tuesday. Today, I'm really excited to have Chana Ginelle Ewing, founder and CEO of GEENIE. It's the world's first culture-first beauty platform that's rewriting the rules for undiscovered creators and makers in the industry. GEENIE curates its products by identity, ingredients, and impact. These three I's power and empower the creators and makers in the beauty community and serve as the transparent shopping considerations that will shift culture. Welcome, Chana. We're really excited to have you.
Thanks for having me, Kim.
Before we get started today, I just want to ground everyone in your brand. You really are carving out a powerful and meaningful space within the beauty industry. So congratulations on that. I'm in awe of everything that you're doing. And I'm just going to take folks through and our listeners through, your brand platform. So your enduring brand purpose is to transform the world through purposeful spending and action. So some of your powerful brand values, I'm not going to read through all of them, but there's some really great ones here. We are gender expansive. We are fat positive. We fight colorism. We give back to communities in need. We are Black owned, Indigenous owned, Latinx owned, LGBTQIA owned. We are clean and vegan. We are inclusive and accessible. Wow, that is just so powerful. I just want to start off by asking you, was there a defining moment or a few moments in your life where you realized that the GEENIE platform was exactly what the world needed right now and in this moment?
Yeah, there was actually a few moments. So I guess the first one was when we had a different business model before GEENIE. The precursor to GEENIE was a subscription box company called GENIE Box. And in that subscription box, we sold books, beauty, home, just lifestyle products. And the favorite products in those boxes and the ones that our customers would ask for to return on an ongoing basis, like, can we get that lipstick again? Can we get that eyeliner again? Were the beauty products. So, we learned just from the subscription box that beauty was the category that was, what was the most the most accessible and the most important among our first set of consumers. So that was one key takeaway. The other was actually in the process of writing my children's book, which totally transformed me in a lot of ways. It's like, you might have a perspective on the world and you have some values of your own, but then when you sit down and you put them to paper in this very specific way, it starts to crystallize for you what's important and also how we're interconnected and how oppressions sort of step on top of each other, right? So in sort of what we talk about intersectionality. It's not just that someone has the experience of being a black person, but like the very particular experience of being a Black woman or a Black trans woman. And so I think that the process of writing that book really helped me think through in my mind, like, okay, who's out of the picture, like who's not being centered, and can we do a better job of that even on the business side? And then like finally, like in the process of GEENIE as we see today. So, we're a startup and we're responding to our makers. We're seeing what they're building. We're responding to our creators. And that's what we see there ends up becoming what informs our brand. So when we launched this new version of GEENIE last July, it looked very different than it does today, right? So there were some bare bones in place, but in terms of like thinking about explicitly talking about fat positivity or explicitly thinking about gender expansiveness, like this all came in over the course of the year, and like seeing and reflecting back to our makers and creators what they're already doing. And that's essentially kind of how we think about our business in general, that we mirror your beliefs.
Yeah, and So you can remain really agile as long as you are the champion of the makers and the creators, and you're always listening and talking to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how do you deliver on your mission every day, like from an operations and business point of view, from like, how you run your business when you get up in the morning, and who you hire and who you want to partner with, but who you don't want to partner with as well? I mean, take me through that just a little bit.
Yeah, so those three I's really inform, like it's like our blueprint. They informs everything that we do, literally. So when we are thinking about new brands, like we have a spreadsheet of like over like 100 brands, and we're like categorizing them across a range of identity ingredients and impact markers. So that just right there, that's our curation process. We take that very seriously. And then in terms of our team, it's been a very small team over this past year. We've only had like 4 people, but in those, so 3 other people besides myself. And in with those 3 other folks, like one of the things that we talk about in the interviews is values, like what do you believe in? How do you see yourself in the world? Like, are you, making sure that folks aren't scared to talk about identities, aren't scared to talk about their own identities and how they've impacted them. We really get very deep with our small team, because we want to make sure that like our values are aligned, and that like if someone's communicating about the brand, that they are a great reflection of the brand and that people see themselves in them. So, it travels in, who we decide to work with. And then when we did our first funding round back in January. So we did an initial angel round that we closed at the top of January. And even in those conversations with all of those investors, I wanted to make sure that those folks were all values aligned, and that like, they could see the vision of what we're building. Like we couldn't have an investor who, their primary objective is to make money and that's it. We're obviously a very social impact and purpose driven. So we wanted to make sure that we were aligning with investors who saw an opportunity to to be transformative with their brand, and to be relevant, and also have a place a place that's home for a diverse constituency. So that was really important to us as well.
One of the things that I always like to say is if you act with purpose, the profits will come. And I think that's definitely the type of company, purpose-driven organization that you've built, which is wonderful. Did you find a lot of investors that weren't in line, or that just didn't marry the values, or didn't understand what you were trying to do?
So because this is our very first like friends and family angel round. So I'd had the distinct privilege of being able to mine my network of amazing people. So, this wasn't, I think in our next round, it's going to be a little bit more like going after VCs that I've never met before, and it'll be maybe an intro of an intro of an intro, so I won't have, I probably might encounter some of those like more like carrier situations, but these were all super personal conversations. And for the most part, many of the folks who came on board were people that I knew, or they were like one person removed. So it was a really intimate investor group of investor class. And I think that was very important for me as a founder who's our first time raise. So I didn't really encounter too many negative investor stories. And also, I think it's partially my personality. I don't actually feel like I need to convince anyone of anything. So if I sense that you're not like aligned, or we're not seeing the world in the same way, I'll leave it at that first conversation and move on. Because I know that, we will find the people who are just right for us.
Yeah. I mean, that's why when we first met, we automatically loved each other and bonded. And I was like, I'm here for you for life, always.
Yeah, yep, seriously.
Totally.
That's the only people that I want to work with, honestly.
Exactly.
So
exactly. And speaking of support, how do you like enable deeper support, education, connection opportunities for your creators and makers in your community?
Yeah. So since we, we are a startup, we have a huge vision. So, we quickly learned that we had to take these constituencies sort of one at a time, right? So early on, we worked a lot with the makers themselves. We did town halls. So like every other month, we'd have a town hall with them and have conversations about what's happening, what's the state of their business, what's the state of GEENIE, quite frankly, like, where are we at? After we did our first raise, because the business launched in July of 2020, but we didn't close our first raise until January of 2021. So, right after that, we did a town hall. A lot of the founders wanted to know how did you close a raise? How did you raise money? So like when we find out how to do things, we talk to them about what we've done. So we figured out like what's going to be the community there. So that looked like, a newsletter, like a personalized newsletter that we send to them for every week at the end of every Friday, where we talk about what's going on in our community, events that we've seen around that might be of interest to them, opportunities and insights. And then we also did the town hall. So just to try to keep that community connected and growing and seeing what that would take us. And then separately for the creators, we decided that Geneva, which is I guess is a community chat app. It's similar to like a Slack or Mighty Networks, where individual brands can create their own community homes on there. We decided that would be the place where our creators would come and hang. And in that space, we would learn about what their needs were, how to support them, what was important to them, and like, try to get conversations going there. And so that's essentially like has been our strategy, because as a small business with just four people, we realized we couldn't do everything all at once. So it's like, all right, like how do we support this audience, and then how do we think about that audience, and just take them one at a time.
You're using every modern disruptive tool in the marketplace to really kind of build your company and run your company. And I think it's great. I mean, there's just so much new that's out there. You've building a virtual clubhouse for creators to come and hang out like they would at Fashion Week in the beauty lounge, but now you're doing it online and you're making it more accessible to anyone in the world. And they don't have to be invited to any elite event to be invited to yours, which I love. And what about some of the makers and creators? Who do you think are doing some really interesting things from marketing their brands or advertising or messaging? Like who's really killing it?
So I'm going to talk about one of the creators right now who's like, I adore so much. His name is Jeremiah JM Delore on Instagram. We worked with him. We established a new program this past August called a GEENIE in Residence. So, or a resident GENIE. So the idea would be like, just like someone like a DJ would have a residency within a club, this makeup artist has a residency within GENIE, and they are going to be doing multiple events over a period of time. And so Jeremiah hosted maybe, I think, 10 to 12 events with us this past August, all what we call makeup parties on our Instagram, and just super fun, super loving and kind, has a great, just is able to connect with other creators and really mentor them. Like in the makeup parties, we saw, that he would like, so the process of the makeup party, I'm just getting excited just talking about it. But in the makeup party, we'd have the host, Jeremiah, and then a guest creator who was also a part of our community, be in sort of conversation with each other and put on a look at the same time. And it was really cool to see like Jeremiah kind of like talk and coach that creator along and be like, oh, like, have you thought about using this product, or like doing this technique with your cut crease, or using this color, blah, blah, blah. So just to kind of see their interaction and see the camaraderie. And I think that's one of the things that we've really learned about the beauty community, is that there's incredible amount of camaraderie and like willing to share and wanting to be friends and wanting to connect with other creators. And we think Jeremiah is a really great representation of that. I don't want to, like, I love all of our brands, so I'm not going to talk about all of them, but like, yeah, exactly. So I would say two that come to mind. Lamique Beauty is founded by a Black Southern woman, Kim Roxy, and she's been on the platform since the very beginning, and it was so cool. I'm so proud of her that she also just went into Ulta this August as well. So it's just really great to see her brand grow over this period of time. It's been growing for years now, but it's a celebrity brow kit. And also it's vegan, it's Black owned, it's cruelty free. So she hits a lot of our markers there. Fluid Beauty is gender expansive. I think you have a few products by Fluid.
Makeup for him, her, them, everyone. You know that I'm a customer of yours, and it's the most wonderful customer touch point experience. All of the packaging, makeup that feels right. I don't know if you can see that here.
Yeah, Femme Power.
Makeup that rules. You just feel so loved and included, and the way it comes in the mail and the packaging and the little bags and just the little extras, it's just such a different experience.
And these are all small brands, right? So like, the cool thing about, I don't know, I think there's just so much genius in small brands, because they have really cultivated connection with their communities. They know what's driving people to a purchase. They know who their audience is. And there's a lot of like, we think about it like, what are the like literal intersections? Where are the streets? Where are the points of connection? And so how do we talk about these groups of people? How do we talk about these groups of brands together? So
tell me about Fluid as just a brand. What is their purpose and mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're gender expansive, they're fat positive, they're also vegan. Some of their products are vegan and cruelty free. So there's a real and the reason why this goes to why we decided when we thought about the overarching lens of GEENIE to sort of break it down by ingredients and identity and impact, is because that's literally what we were seeing among our brands, right? So like our brands weren't just like, oh, like I'm Black owned, and that's the only thing I want you to know about me. Like that's not necessarily what's happening. Like our brands we're saying stuff like, I'm Black owned and I want to talk about clean beauty, and like I'm not often the brand that you call up to talk about clean beauty, or I'm gender expansive and I also have an incredible give back program, or I'm also talking about mental health as my social impact. So I think that, that's part of the reason why we decided to create this umbrella, so that people could really shine and you could see the dimension of their brand purpose.
What were some of the biggest problems or challenges? Like what was like one of the hardest lessons you learned in the past year?
Oh, wow. I mean, I guess first and foremost, like health, right? Like, so figuring out like how to stay healthy, physically, mentally, like deciding that like health is like your number one priority, right? I think that having like COVID has become like this like forcing function, especially in my life, and that like I take my vitamins all the time. I learned to cook more. At one point, I was seeing a personal trainer for a while. I had a spiritual coach. So like there was a bit around like the chaos of what was happening outside and being really fearful of getting this disease just made me barrel down and think about like my health and my wellness in a way that I had never done before, and how that related to my entrepreneurship. So I would say first and foremost, like, centering health, centering rest, that's been super important. I would say the other piece is just frankly money, capital, right? So making sure that you have enough money as a startup to keep the lights on, and when you don't have enough money to keep the lights on, then what do you do? Like just being as frugal as possible, being as resourceful as possible, striking up partnerships and deals with people that can help you drive the brand forward. So being an entrepreneur, it really forces you to think about how you deal with the resources at hand and today, so that you can get to the next level of your business.
And being an entrepreneur, success starts within. And I think you started your whole well care system knowing that it's all interconnected. Financial care is as important as mental care, right? And just taking care of everyone. And now you're responsible for lots of kids, products and makers and your community. And I think that you've been really, really smart. I know you and I have talked a lot about the fact that there are these new democratic social platforms that just the beauty industry doesn't even seem to be really leveraging or tapping into as much as they could. I mean, for everything from Twitch is now one of the hottest beauty, creator spaces, super great, Pop Shop Live, Cameo, Patreon, Clubhouse we talked about. I mean, Instagram is the obvious. Tell me about that in terms of all of those platforms that you've been able to leverage.
Yeah, so I mean, we personally have not leveraged all those platforms. We would lose our mind if we were on all those platforms as a 4-person team. But obviously, all of them are like on our radar, and we're thinking about the lessons that we can apply as we continue to build our platform. But we know that creators, they want to be, I think the social media of maybe like a half decade ago was all about this idea that you would just create and grow an audience eventually that you would like monetize somehow, right? Like, so either you would monetize through, brand partnerships, or, maybe you would build your own brand or something like that, right? And I think today creators are like, no, like I'm investing all of my time and energy, therefore, and I'm also building a community. So like, how do I, extract value from that community so that this can be sustainable? And I think like platforms like OnlyFans and Patreon really enable you to do that, but you can develop your own subscriptions. And I think Twitter just released its tip jar. I know that that's also like, if it's not a part of the Clubhouse product right now, I know that's also on their roadmap, releasing these like tip jars, because creators want to be paid now, and they want to be able to not wait like, 5 years down the road once that audience has been built and then make money, right? And then you also have the challenge of like advertising and the algorithms that puts in front of them, right? So like the shared frustration among both makers and creators is their inability to just actually get to their audience in an organic way on, say, Instagram or TikTok, right? Because of all of these algorithms that are really there to support advertisers. So if you're a small creator and you haven't built that large audience, how do you get there? And I think some of these other platforms that enable you to pay yourself as you're cultivating and nurturing an audience on the way are super helpful.
Yeah. How is Twitch taking over the world in the beauty space, and why?
Oh, wow. So, I mean, I think one of the obvious ways is that, like, from the actual beauty from the gamers, right? So the cosplaying and all that stuff. So all the creativity that happens there. But also, like, one of the things that we learned is that, like, makeup as sport, right? So a lot of our makeup creators, they spend 4-5 hours creating makeup looks, you know? So think about that time. They're just sitting in front of, you know, their mirror, and they're like creating, that's content in and of itself. So you could watch somebody get ready with me and see that process, see that artistry come to life. So I think that Twitch is a really great platform for you to see that in. And also, like, you know, they already have a culture of like watching people kind of perform things as they do it.
Yeah, I mean, they really own voyeurism in culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all kind of want to watch each other and learn from each other, especially in the makeup space. I think YouTube, you know, was the very forefront of that, and unboxing videos and all of that, you know, maybe 10 years ago. But Twitch has really kind of come in and been a powerhouse for watching people do things. And it's just so beyond gaming now. So I think they're doing a really great job of expanding their community.
Absolutely. And it's also beyond the like sale of a group of products, right? So in our makeup parties, it's literally just like folks sitting there on their computers, putting on makeup, listening to music in the background, having fun, and talking, like, you know, talking about whatever they want to, talking about school. And it's a good time. It's like makeup as entertainment, it's makeup as connection, it's makeup as art. So yes, there are products in there, right? So there's a real opportunity for brands to, you know, obviously you want your products in front of a captive audience, but they're not necessarily doing it with the express intent of like, let me showcase this product and do a review and share something with you.
Live selling, live shopping, that is the next e-commerce. We're going to see it explode. I think you and I have also talked about that in the next year. We expect all industries to tap into that as the next e-commerce trend. And then just last, before we end, because I know that we're coming out of time here, but if you had just one piece of wisdom for the fitness and wellness industry, you know, if you were the CEO of a fitness or wellness company today, and you could transfer your knowledge of what you're learning, and these companies that want to take rightful actions to create a more gender expansive and inclusive customer experience in their own industries, what's that piece of advice that you would give these leaders?
So one thing that really informs us is this theory of change that comes from the nonprofit world, which is about like building for the quote unquote last girl. We would reframe that and say like building for the last person. But it's this idea that like when you build something, or you build a program in the nonprofit perspective, you build a program, you build a project, an opportunity, you're thinking about the most marginalized people that that program could serve, and you build with them in mind. You bring them center to the picture, and so that's really what informs us at GEENIE. It's like, you know, who's out of the frame in beauty. And I would say the same would go for wellness as well. Is like who's like not currently in the frame, and how do you build your product and center them in the frame. The other thing too is I would say, like, to try to move for, especially as it pertains to like exercise, is to move from like a rewards and payoff sort of storytelling to more of like enjoy the journey sort of storytelling, right? Because it's not about like, oh, when I lose 10 pounds, like that's when I get to be rewarded with this, like, I don't know, swimsuit, you know, like that's when I can feel good about wearing this swimsuit. No, people want to wear the swimsuit now, you know, like, and really understand that they get to, you know, wear the swimsuit now. They get to do that thing right now, and not when at the end of some, you know, some sort of health goal that keeps kind of moving on and on, right? So people, like, I think, you know, people can be rewarded for the journey that they're undertaking around their health, and not by the destinations that they reach.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a guest on our show today. I really appreciate you. I honor you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Kim. This is really fun.